Taking inspiration straight from a forgotten Batmobile design, the Lola T90/10 debuted at the close of the Group C era, with its first race and only full season of competition coming in 1992. After parting ways with Nissan in 1990, the T92 was a clean sheet design for Lola that built on their experience as constructor for Nissan's Group C cars and their work with Chevrolet and GTP. Designer Veit Hiedekoper leveraged extensive wind tunnel development to shape a vehicle that simultaneously achieved high downforce and low drag. The shape itself was at least a partial departure from convention, with a pointier nose, more heavily sculpted side pods, and smaller windscreen than previous Lola designs. It nevertheless had design echoes of its rivals, particularly in the center-mounted twin-element rear wing that had strong visual similarities to the Jag XJR14 and Peugeot 905. The new vehicle's development coincided with changes in the Group C rule set that altered bodywork requirements and encouraged manufacturers to use 3.5-liter engines that would also be eligible for competition in Formula One, a change largely executed at the behest of Bernie Ecclestone. While originally the new 3.5-liter vehicles were intended to race as a subclass of the overall Group C rules, older vehicles were hobbled through progressive rule changes to ensure the newer cars had a competitive edge. The T92 took advantage of the new rules, sourcing a Formula One-derived 3.5-liter V10 originally developed by Judd for Scuderia Italia in 1991, and subsequently modified for endurance racing. Detuned from its Formula One trim to make around 650 to 700 horsepower and 250 to 300 pound-feet of torque, the Judd GV10 was also found in Mazda's 1990s prototypes after the 787B's screaming rotary engine was outlawed for being too radically excellent. In the T92, the GV10 sent its power to the rear wheels through an in-house built 6-speed manual transmission, semi-automatic systems having only been introduced in Formula One in 1989 and not having yet proliferated to sports car racing. The third pedal remained in use. The suspension was, as usual, double wishbones, but the tire options were a subject of some controversy that will be discussed shortly. The T92's Judd V10 also had the distinction of being one of the loudest engines to ever run at Le Mans, and having heard it in person at the Le Mans Classic, can confirm it makes a decidedly distinctive impression that is not adequately conveyed by any digital recording or recreation. The body design, penned by Mr. Hiedekoper, derived a significant portion of its downforce from the use of ground effect tunnels under the body of the car, with the rear diffuser and lower element of the rear wing working to essentially extend the ground effect further along the aft end of the vehicle for additional downforce without creating additional drag, although the upper element of the rear wing certainly made some of its own. The front air intakes on either side of the foot and pedal box funnel air to the brakes and radiators, which are mounted laterally for better packaging. That's the radiators, not the brakes. All this clever engineering sounds very well, but by the time the car was ready for competition in 1992, the future of Group C was increasingly bleak, due to the skyrocketing costs and stifled innovation brought on by the aforementioned regulation changes. Lola therefore had difficulties in finding clients interested in their new vehicle, and only one team carried through with a commitment to purchase the model. Dutch team Euro Racing bought 2 cars to campaign in the 1992 season after running the previous seasons with a Cosworth-engined Spice. However, the interest of the Euro Racing team caused a rift between Lola and chief designer Hiedekoper for 2 reasons. One, the founder and team principal of Euro Racing was one Mr. Charles Zwolsman, whose business activities involved the transport of large amounts of vegetable matter and very minimal amounts of legality. Hiedekoper reportedly had no interest in running the risk of being associated with a known drug trafficker, and subsequently resigned from Lola, later going on to work on the Porsche 911 GT1 and Delara Chrysler LMP1s. Reason number 2 was that Euro Racing elected to run their T92s on Michelin tires, which were smaller in diameter than the majority of other racing tires available at the time, and entirely compromised the vehicle's suspension setup. Wearing allegedly ersatz sponsorships to cover up the illicit sources of the team's financing, the T92's debut 1992 season was, perhaps unsurprisingly, an unsuccessful one for Euro Racing, with retirements due to transmission failure at Monza and Silverstone. While one vehicle did manage to finish Le Mans that year, it was a whopping 80 laps adrift of the winning Peugeot 905. In fact, during the entire 1992 season, Euro Racing never managed to have both of their cars finish a race, usually due to transmission failure, and they missed the last race, the 500 kilometers of Magny-Cours, due to the arrest of Mr. Zolsman on, surprise of surprises, drug trafficking charges. Ironically, Zvolsman's son also became involved in racing as a driver and actually raced at Le Mans with the Baikalus team in 2009, driving their R10 TDI. 1992 also saw the demise of Group C and the end of the 40-year-long World Sports Car Championship on the whole, although it was not the end of the T92's career. Euro Racing's cars were sold off by the Dutch government and now reside in private collections, but a third chassis was also purchased in 1995 by McNeil Engineering for use in interserie competition. Now wearing more appropriate Goodyear rubber and competing against modified open-wheelers, its performance improved remarkably, achieving victories at Brands Hatch, Albacete, and the Hungaroring in the late 1990s. It was then converted to race in the International Sports Racing Series, and then again to run as an early LMP1, rebadged as an Ascari, but without notable success, frequently plagued by transmission and electrical issues yet again. Happily, though, both of the Euro Racing chassis have been kept in original Group C race trim and now race at historic events in both the US and Europe, to the delight of the ears and eyes of those at the track. And now we come again to the end of the video. As always, thank you for watching, and for this evening's call to action not featuring the sacred words of YouTube,
like, comment, subscribe.
This is a reminder that it's probably time to sharpen your kitchen knives, if I haven't reminded you of this in the last 6 months or so. And if I have done so, this is a sign that, after a birthday a couple of weeks ago, time is finally catching up to my enfeebled mind, and I am unlikely to make it to the age of 30. With that sunshiny thought, have a good evening all.